Okay, great. This is the tedious part of making cookies. Is not very difficult, so long as you have the tools, and even if you don't have like the same exact tools, that's okay too. You should be able to do it no problem. So I'm putting on the same glove that I wore before, and it should still fit. Make sure your hands aren't wet because wet hands will never go into gloves. I like to try to clean the whisk as much as possible. Really get all that dough. I don't even know how long I've left the dough in the fridge. Probably 2 4 hours. What time did I even start? But the dough should be firm and hard enough that you can work with it and not worry about it sticking to your hands. This is the moment where we can form it. Unfortunately, I have no idea what size ice cream scoop this is. I bought this a long time ago. Um, so long ago that it never came with like the numbers or the details, and I don't even have like the receipt or like the access to the original product. So this is what I use, and it's what I get. It's how I get consistent sizes. And but I will later on try to weigh them out later, just to see, okay, if for sure what my past selves did was correct, because I've said that each cookie's around 23, 24, 25 grams per cookie, and I want to make sure, okay, does this still hold up? So honestly, I don't even need to record the entirety of me doing this, but it's just so you get the general idea. Scoop it out, and then boom, you got one portion of cookie. And then I got this big plate, saran wrap it so it doesn't stick. You don't really need to, but it's just for like ease of clean up. So this is one portion right here, and you don't have to do anything about it. Just leave it as is. If you're doing it with a spoon, you might want to roll it up into a ball later on. But the whole point is to, at least for me, I really wanted to make everything standardized, make everything as consistent as possible. I think there's like a beauty to it when you are at home and you're able to make something consistent, something that will rival mass production. And then boom, there you go. Easy as that. I mean, I don't even know if I'm gonna record the whole thing because this is gonna take a while. This is honestly gonna take maybe an hour or however long this video is. I might as well record the whole entire thing just so you can see. But see, I want to even it out, scraping it against the bowl. Anything falls out, that's fine. Scoop, pat out. There you go. And it's just a bunch of this until all the cookie dough is done. And I said it already, I'll say it again. I'm going to weigh them all out just so I have a general idea. Okay, on average, for people who have a scale but don't have a scoop, how much should each ball get? And then Chef Ron has said before, over time, you just kind of get used to it. Humans are more well equipped to identifying, as far as I know, we're more well equipped to identifying volume in small amounts than getting like precision based, like everything is exact every time using technology. Over time, you just get used to seeing, oh, this is like 1 pound, or this is how much this portion is supposed to be, and we're really good at getting really close to it, or if not consistently exact. But just so you get like, I want to be able to produce consistent results. Um, so this is why it took me so long, because I would change it every so often, see what I could do better. What did I like more than other, you know. But yeah, I'm in no way a good baker, by the way. These things that I'm sharing are just things that what I found to work really well and what I really like. Um, these things are too dangerous because I would make it for myself. In the past, I never really made things for myself, and it's okay if it sticks to the bag. This is like on average what the consistent sizing should be. The first one is always going to be a little more big, fuller than the rest, only just because it comes out so much cleaner. But over time, as things heat up, they're going to stick to the back of the scoop if you are able to use the scoop. But I don't even know what size this is, so good luck. Um, this to me is what I think is the best chocolate chip cookie recipe. everyone else, has their own taste buds, and you may like something different. But this is what I like to do, and I typically don't really make my own recipes for myself too often because they're dangerous. They hold destructive capabilities. But what I would do though is that oftentimes, whether it's someone's party, someone's birthday, or something, I'd make it for them, And cookies, one of the reasons why I did cookies, like I went deep into cookies, was because it was easy to share with people. It's almost universally liked. You can bust them out whenever. It's not like a piece of cake where you need to cut it and then you need to like hold it in like a plate and then you need to eat it with a fork or a spoon. And like cookies, there's a convenience to it. You just hold it and almost everyone understands. Oh, hey man, it's a cookie. Sounds awesome. Let me get some of that. It's easier to give samples to people to taste test, and it is not, at least in my opinion, the factors that go into a cookie aren't as crazy, or there's not as many variables compared to some other things. Um, Butter, flour, sugar, and then it just comes to proportions, temperature, and of course you can totally make this with like all the best ingredients you can possibly find. But I wanted to make something that was almost anyone at home could potentially make, because when I first started really experimenting cooking, I was like, man, this sucks. I have like nothing. I need to go out and like buy it. But I'm assuming, and hopefully, this is rather basic, so that nearly anyone with like, oh, brown sugar, yeah, we got that. Some butter, vanilla, eggs, some white sugar, baking soda, baking powder, salt. Like, I would assume those things are rather basic. And what I was aiming for was for a chewy cookie. A chewy, but also like crisp enough so that it holds its form. And the base dough is honestly my favorite. The chocolate chip was just, if you want chocolate chip. But this is a chocolate chip, at least for me, when I was researching and developing a chocolate chip cookie base. Um, my favorite combination or variation of this so far is a mint chocolate chip. You know those Andes mints? Those Andes mints that come in those green wrappers, and then like I get them at Smart and Final. I Instead of doing like 10 ounces of chocolate chip, I would do 5 ounces of the Andes mints, and then 5 ounces of the chocolate chip minis. And what I would do is, chop up the chocolate, the mint minis, the Andes minis, small, so that it blends in, and it's honestly like mint chocolate chip. I don't need to use peppermint extract. It works. It's a perfect balance for me, and honestly, it was only developed recently. It wasn't anything. That I thought about until like I was at the store and I was like, oh man, I really liked those as a kid, but I never really got them. So hopefully, after trying it out, it blew my mind. What I thought were previously dangerous cookies, I think for me, and if I had a choice, if I could only eat like make or eat one cookie, I'd choose the mint chocolate chip one, because that to me is like, for this creation, for this version of cookies, is the best so far, the best. um I've made not I wouldn't call them, what are they called, the cinnamon cookies, the snickerdoodles. I wouldn't say snickerdoodles, because to my understanding, snickerdoodles have it's a white sugar cookie base. So white sugar, and this is only from my understanding, I don't even know if this is right. The whole reason why I'm in the CCSF program is to get my foot in the door, but also because I wanted to make sure that the knowledge I knew was like true knowledge. I wanted a standardized set of knowledge, not just like information I've got from learning, like from people and like videos and like on the line. To my understanding, snickerdoodles are generally white sugar cookies, and they have a coating of cinnamon or cinnamon sugar. And I thought that was really weird. That was really dumb. I'm like, if you're eating a snickerdoodle, you want to taste the cinnamon, right? I want a chewy cookie, not something that will just like crumble. And that's where brown sugar comes into play. The brown sugar has molasses. So in the cookie dough recipe, it makes it chewier. and I really like that. For whatever reason, I don't remember where I saw this or where I heard about this, but the reason why I do 2 cups of brown sugar and 6 tablespoons of white sugar, I honestly have no idea, or nor do I remember where the idea came from, but it just kind of worked. It just worked, and I've just been going with this like ever since. I don't know what to say. Um, I wanted chew, and white sugar alone doesn't provide chew. There's no chew factor. There's I wanted to account for consistency, mouth feel. Do these last? Honestly, I can't say for freshness. It will last forever. But I will say though that even after it's been maybe exposed to some air or something, it still tastes really really good, which is really bad. Um, Especially when you like consider the fact, oh, if you really want it to taste like it just came out of the oven or something, you can quickly microwave it like 5 seconds and it'll be almost good as new. Um, oh, but yeah, cookies were things that helped me connect to people. It was like, hey, have a sample, and what you think about it. Is this like one of your favorite cookies? And generally, when I made the cookies and given it out, and honestly, probably if COVID wasn't happening, I probably would have like made cookies too and been like, hey, here you go, try this out. Put this in your mouth and tell me how it is. And then just spread that goodness around, get people's opinions, because everyone has a different set of taste buds. They might like something different, and it's always very good to get people's perspective. Hey, knowledge is good to have all around, as opposed to something more isolated and limited. um, Cookies, yeah. The other thing that I may have thought about cooking and baking quite a bit, but I'm in no way good in general baking. Like I may be saying a lot of stuff about what I know right now, but if you ask me to make something other than cookies, I would fail. I could not do this. And it's not even like cookies in general. I If you ask me to make some other cookies, I would try, but I'm only really knowledgeable in like what I have created and what I have come to understand. I can't make pastries. I can't make doughs. I tried making bread. It came out bad. I tried making like handmade pasta. That was difficult. It was fun though, but it was difficult, and I can't say it turned out good, but I still ate it all the same. I can't make what like those Danish pastries or whatever with like the jam inside. So honestly, as far as whoever is concerned, I'm not a baking master in any sense. I'm just a guy who has this really really cool cooking recipe. At least I think it is, and I really advocate for it. It's horrible, dangerous, but I want to seek, for me, my own personal collection. Like I could just bust this out. Um, the personal, like, what is the best to me. I'm trying to amass knowledge, and it's greed. It's not necessarily greed for money, not to say that money is important, but I want the knowledge for myself so that I can create these horrible things. Not necessarily for me, but for whoever. I don't really make things for myself. That's a weird thing to say. Yeah, I don't make things for myself too often. Generally, I make it for other people. I care about them. They're a good friend of mine. Oh, it's your birthday? Okay, I got you. No problem. And part of it is that I don't think it is really worth it to make things for myself. uh Part of it is like, okay, cost of USD, and like I'm okay with just like simple basic things. I actually eat rather bland because cost of USD, and also just because I want my taste buds to like be used to bland things, so that when I do eat like super flavorful crazy things, I can really like get into it without having a biased taste bud. Like if you I think there's this thing where like if you eat one type of food for like 2 weeks, your taste buds adjust to it, and everything else is going to taste intense. So the idea for some people, they're like, oh, you should only eat like well potato because nutrition, or like eat cabbage or whatever, and like to reset your taste buds because there's so much salt in like processed food, takeout, fast food, and I think you get to appreciate things more, really taste things if your taste buds aren't out of whack because we go out or buy other things to eat. But it's whatever you want to do. There's no real like rules. You do whatever you want. Oh, this isn't even hard. Like it doesn't. It's not difficult. It just takes time. It's just tedious. I think if I let it stay in the fridge overnight and really get cold and hard, this would be so much more difficult. I would need to like haul ass and go deep into it and really strain myself. But because I've only left it in the fridge, say like a few hours, 2 or 4. Surprisingly, I actually left it in there for like 2 or 4 hours, and it's coming out almost exactly like I said. But typically, I would leave it overnight. Is something that I don't want to keep thinking about. I just throw in there, leave it in there, and forget about it. But making it now, it's actually really nice. I actually prefer this. So I think I will solidify the idea that yeah, keep it in there until it's like 2 or 4 hours because everyone's fridge is different. Yours might be colder than others. There may not be a lot of things in your fridge. So the bowl and the dough in it might cool down faster. But yeah, so it's not really. I mean, for baking, try to be as exact as possible. But there's always some things that you can get around. You can there's some things you can hopefully be more lenient about. Find what works for you. Uh, ugh. And I think that's very important. That some people don't understand. Once you understand, at least for me, once you understand like the fundamentals and why we do things, like what's the reasoning. This is more like pertaining to like recipes for cooking, less for baking. You could just do what you do. Like you don't necessarily need to look at the instructions word for word. If you know like the fundamental idea about what's going to happen and what's happening, because sometimes recipes don't really account for. I mean, I don't know. I don't really look at recipes online, but to my understanding, and this may be only like applicable for the past, but recipes don't really account for like different variables. Like oh, what happens if you have a bell pepper that's smaller than what the actual recipe has, or like you don't use onions or something something. Um, I want to say that like recipes are more so guidelines, and when you do put it together, you can follow the recipes by the word, by the like, everything that's stated. But I feel that's also a mistake because some people will follow a recipe like completely and it won't turn out right because maybe some of the ingredients were just out of whack, or they needed to account for something else. Like oh, the fruit wasn't ripe enough, so it's actually a little more tart. Maybe add some more sugar. I don't know. Um, but that's just something that I have learned over time for cooking. But that is different. This is from like someone who's only really cooked at home. I've never worked in like an industrial commercial kitchen, so like I can't even say any of the information I have is standard, But adjust, you know. Cooking's fun because we get to adjust things. We get to see how things change. We're doing science. Like, like it kind of sounds kind of dumb to say, but this when I thought about it, and I really thought about it, I'm like, dude, our jobs are so cool. Like, we get to work with food. That's active science. That's free form active science. We're changing ingredients into another thing, and like when you really think about it, right, it is science. We are creating something new. You think about okay, what does fire do to meat? It cooks the proteins, and then all those little things we don't really think about, but we think about cooking. It's really all there. You hear like a bunch of like ridiculous, like over detailed explanations for jobs, like, oh yeah, I take care of people, or like you're a babysitter, okay, but then some people would say some nonsense like, oh dude, I like train children, or or and I'm like, what is like one of the most detailed explanations of people who cook, people who like are in the kitchen and like experimenting? I'm like, dude, that's science. We're like doing free form active science. Cooking, it can take many different forms. And and then the more I thought about it, I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like no one's really talked about this. I wonder why is that. Maybe they have, I don't know, but that's really cool. I mean, I think it's really cool because it's so true. I never thought about it that way, but it's so true. And yeah, it certainly does make me feel good for someone who's looking forward into working with food in the future, as like as an occupation. But I don't know. I don't know. I feel like that's an idea that hasn't really been explored, and or maybe it has. I don't know. I have lived under a rock for most of my life. Real life Patrick Star, and there's a lot I don't know about. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe other people have thought about this, but it's really cool. I think the idea is really cool because uh, when you look at cooking and food in that lens, in a different way, and you really look at all the ingredients and what they do, and oh yeah, that's what heat does to that. Oh, that's what something acidic does to that. What does basic things do to stuff, right? You get a greater appreciation for it, and I think that's really awesome. That's really cool. It's one of my favorite things about cooking and food. For me, anyways, I enjoy the testing aspect, the understanding behind how do we make so many great things, and why is that. But also the other reason, food is great. You get to nourish yourself, other people. It is totally a thing that brings people together. It can be emotional, right? Right. Fuck, man. I don't know if y'all seen Ratatouille, but you know that scene where what's his face, Ego. He eats a dish that he hasn't eaten in years at a restaurant, and then it makes him remember his childhood, and then like he breaks his entire like character of being a food critic, only to like return to someone who sincerely loves food. It brings him back into a moment in time. You don't have a lot of money, and so sometimes you're going to struggle and be poor, but there might be food, and it makes you, makes you full, it makes you happy. We can very much connect memories and moments to food, and so that's very powerful, right? It's crazy too, especially now, right? The internet, the world, there's so many people creating, throwing out ideas, and like new things are coming up all the time, and then like, oh hey man, what's up with that, and it's really cool. I really am into it. Unfortunately though, and this is probably gonna have to change depending on how life goes, I am not at all someone who follows the internet or trends. I'm really not about that. I'm not at all, like, despite how young my age indicates, I'm not at all like in with it, following like in like social media. That's not me. But in retrospect, eventually, and unfortunately, I might have to do that because it's a form of networking and shit like that. But yeah, I guess the process of how my cooking making went was that it started really bad. In the beginning, I was actually really horrible at this. It was complete garbage. It, it was really bad when I first started making cookies because well, for one, I was using volume, and so getting consistency isn't guaranteed because sometimes you may pack something in more. Sometimes it may not be as dense enough, you know. Sometimes, especially flour and sugar, brown sugar, you might get more than you needed. You might get less, and so they were all over the place. And the only reason that it took me like 7 or whatever years is because I wasn't constantly experimenting. Of course not. It was more so like, oh yeah, I just kind of changed it a little over time, a little bit over time, a little bit over time to see what I really liked. And then at some point, I just got a scale, and then I thought about like standardizing and making sure everything is consistent. And then like at some point, I got an ice cream scoop or whatever. And then I was like, okay, this is wonderful. This works out. It definitely has gone through a lot of workshops. But this cookie recipe is great, at least in my opinion, because the base cookie is great. And if I wanted to make it into a snickerdoodle, instead of adding chocolate chips, I'd add 1 tablespoon of ground cinnamon, and then I coat the outside after I form them into balls before I bake them. Or actually, after I form them all into balls, I roll them into cinnamon sugar, right? And then I let it sit, come to room temperature, and then I bake them. Same thing for like 300 degrees for 16 to 17 minutes, you know? And then if you want chocolate chip, well, that's what we're doing right now. 10 ounces of chocolate chip minis. And if you wanted it without chocolate chip, I think the cookie base also just tastes really good on its own. Sometimes I actually prefer eating cookies as is without the chocolate chip, like a crazy person. Um, but then, you know, the most recent craze, at least for me, is mint chocolate chip. That is by far one of my favorites. I can't say that I dislike it. Is by far my favorite. But you know, chocolate chip, almost everyone likes it. It's nice. Have I ever done this with white chocolate? Actually, I haven't. I have no idea how that's going to taste, but at the same time, I don't really have like an incentive to try making it with white chocolate or like with nuts or with raisins. I've never tried it. I mean, you certainly could experiment with it. I think if you do try it out with different things, try to go with like 10 ounces, you know, making it the limit for extra ingredients. Note that if you do try to make a snickerdoodle out of this recipe, you're going to have less cookies just because, you know, cinnamon doesn't really take up a lot of space. Chocolate chips do, though, you know. I think you might have like 40 or like 30 cookies, cinnamon cookies, if you try to take that route. Mainly so is because yeah, it's just cinnamon. Nothing takes up space. So you're just having dough with some cinnamon, and it's gonna reduce the count. Whereas the chocolate chip cookies, nearly like if you see, and you see right over there too, it's covered in chocolate chips, and that's what I wanted. That's what I immediately knew. Hey, man. The regular size chocolate chip morsels they kind of suck because for me anyways, in my opinion, it didn't really bode well with me to have a bite with a lot of chocolate and then another bite where like there's little to no chocolate at all, you know. I wanted something that would have it potentially have it like, even if it's a small bite, you should be able to get some chocolate, you know. Or like if it's a medium sized bite, you know, oh boom, chocolate, you know. You don't have to be like strategically thinking about how do I want to eat this cookie, you know. These are, and I like these too because they're not too small but they're not too big, so that you are able to just have it as a snack or have it as like one portion. Hey, I just want to eat one cookie today, and then move on with your life. Unfortunately though, and this is another disclaimer, warning people, whoever may be watching this, if you eat one out after it comes out the oven and you find that you really like it, I'm sorry. I'm sorry in advance because it might disappear. It might disappear very quickly. Um, you Yeah, I'm sorry. I hope disclaimer, I'm not responsible for potentially I don't know, diabetes or something, because these things are dangerous. Especially if you're someone who likes to like drink or like get high. These things are horrible. They are bad, but so good. And I think that's honestly been my goal for a lot of recipe creation or testing. It's how can I make the best horrible version of this, you know? Um, and that's what drives my interest. Cooking for me is something that I can research and develop, and there's almost like an endless puzzle. You know, there's like so many combinations, and like you can keep doing it nearly forever because you're never going to run out. There's always something new, something different, so endless amounts of recipes, endless variations and types, and that really does it for me. So that's what I want to do. That's my end goal. And I'd be happy with it, you know. And I'm sure I can make USD off of it. I'm not too concerned. I know that I'm gonna fly high, you know. I know. I've never felt like this is exactly what I do, what I want to do, until like I really set myself into it. Because I've tried so many other things, and unfortunately, I'm gonna be honest. I did so many other things that I didn't care about. But when you do care, you care for the entire world, you know. And cooking was one of those things that really clicked for me. Cooking, baking, food. And here's the interesting thing too, about me, if you care. Uh, I remember I grew up very conservative. Not like conservative mindset, but like under a rock, you know. And so there's actually a lot of food that I haven't tested or tasted yet, which is really cool too, because it means that I get to discover and eat food for the first time. But it also is bad because it means that I have a lack of knowledge and just limited experience compared to, well, I want to say all of you who have eaten way more things than I have, you know? In the past, you know, I've said it before, I wouldn't go out of my way to make things for myself. But now, you know, if the curiosity strikes, I'll be like, yeah, let's go get those ingredients, let's go get it going, you know, and make it happen. Ah, wow, I'm actually surprised. I'm getting this done a lot faster. I think it's because I did follow what I told all of y'all, which was to fridge it for like 2 to 4 hours, because I used to refrigerate it overnight just because I'm lazy and, you know, I got other shit to do. Um, and it would be so hard. But this is firm enough for me to work with, and not too warm that everything's being, you know, misshapen. Normally, to my memory, because the dough would be so hard and I'd have to force it out, it'd take me an hour. I'm actually surprised this is taking considerably less time. I might be done. I might be able to make the cookies tonight and complete the videos, which is really nice. So yeah, these cookies take a while, but are they worth it? I think they really are. I think these cookies are worth it. I've never bought cookies at a store anymore after making these. Well, actually, no, that's a lie. I'm sorry. I lied to you. I have, just to like, I'm feeling extra lazy, and like they're on sale for like $2 for like, I don't know, a box of 30 or something. But it is not like, the quality of it doesn't compare to like making it. Um, Interesting thing, if you haven't read the recipe yet, I actually bake my cookies a little differently compared to like the traditional temperature and timing. I bake mine at a lower temperature and for a longer amount of time. I don't remember why I did this, but I think it was because I considered, okay, most people bake it at higher temperatures for a shorter amount of time, because I don't know, that's what they do. That's what they figured out that works. And it results usually in like a crispy cookie, but I want chewy cookies, you know, chewy with like a crispy outside. And for whatever reason, I don't remember where I learned this or got the idea for 300 degrees, but I settled on 300 degrees for 16 to 17 minutes. So after we're done making the cookie dough into balls, we're going to saran wrap that. Saran wrap it tight. You don't want any of it to be open to moisture. I mean, like right now it's open to moisture, but it's because, you know, I'm rolling them into balls and I need access. But when you're done, wrap it up, saran wrap it tight. Make sure that there's no area that air can get in. And then let it come to room temperature. And once it has come to room temperature and it's super like easily malleable, you can bake them. And bake it for 300 degrees, 16, 17 minutes. For people who have silicone baking sheets, you know, this is going to be really easy for you. And if you don't, parchment sheets work too. Baking parchment sheets will work all the same. I wanna scrape the entire. Oh no, this isn't good. Here, let me try this. Okay. There's a way that I like to place them to maximize space, and whatever I've written in the recipe was just a guesstimation of how much space I put in between because I've never really measured. Sorry. So I'll measure it and well, of course I'm gonna make a 3-part to this video, probably 4-part. It's gonna be because the first part was assembling the ingredients and mixing it, and then the second part is this. After we chilled it in the fridge, we're just gonna, oh, see, so this is one, and then you're gonna have some stuff stuck in here, and then I'm just gonna clean that out, and then, and this isn't a bad thing. You don't have to try to make this fit into the rest. This can be its own little ball. Hold on. Okay. Okay, there you go. Almost super duper clean. Little to no dough on here. And you know what? It's a little small, but I think it'll work out all the same. So this should be more or less, I don't even know if the camera sees it all. This should be the end result. I kind of made it diagonal and slanted. Normally I stack it so it's all neat and without these edges. But this is the end result. So saran wrap all this, and I'm gonna weigh all of these later to get some data to see how much each of these weigh. And I'm hoping and betting that it's gonna be between the ranges of 23 to 25 grams. Let's do a quick count. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50, 52, 54, 56, 58, 60, 62, 64, 68, 70, 72, 71. Did I miscount? Probably. I don't know. But I'm going to end the video right now. Saran wrap this, leave it out to room temperature. You can honestly leave it out for this is probably not a good thing to say because it has eggs in it. But I'm gonna leave it out until it gets to room temperature. Lazy me would also just leave it out until like the next day, but because it's still it's like 3:40 right now. You know, I can bake it tonight. But the party, well, I made these specifically for my sister's birthday. She's like 37. She's a leap year baby. She's I made this for her because she was like, damn, Raymond, make me some of them cookies. Like, those stuff, dangerous, and they're, like, one of the best. And I was like, you want me to make some cheesecake? And she was like, nah. But I'm like, you know, I kind of want to make some cheesecake, too, because it's been a while, but also so I can record it as, like, a video that people can follow along.